Have you ever felt like your faith isn't the same as it used to be? Perhaps at one point you had a deep sense of certainty, a strong connection to your beliefs. But as life has unfolded, you might have noticed that your faith has shifted in ways you didn't expect. Maybe there are doubts where there used to be conviction, or perhaps you have experienced spiritual growth that led you to see the world in a new light. When life changes, does your faith change along with it? Life is constantly shifting. We go through seasons of joy and sorrow, success and failure, clarity and confusion. And with each of those shifts, our beliefs, our understanding and our relationship with God can evolve. But here's the real question. If your faith has changed over time, what kind of enlightenment could it bring to you? Could these changes be part of a greater purpose leading you to a deeper, more authentic connection with God? In today's video, we're going to explore an important topic, the changes in our faith. We often think of faith as something that remains constant, something that doesn't shift. But in reality, faith is more like a living, breathing journey. It grows, deepens, and transforms as we face life's challenges and experiences. So how do these changes lead to greater enlightenment? How does this transformation not only change how we see the world around us, but also help us draw closer to a deeper understanding of ourselves and God? Over time, we may find ourselves asking questions about the purpose of life, our relationship with God, and what it truly means to live out our faith. And through these questions, through this evolution in our beliefs, we often discover a richer, more profound understanding of who we are and who God is. The changes in our faith are not signs of weakness or doubt. They are part of our spiritual growth, leading us to a deeper place of wisdom and connection. These changes might not always be easy, but they're necessary for our transformation. And what we learn along the way can help us navigate the world with greater clarity and peace. Maybe you've noticed that your faith has shifted over time, but you're unsure of what that means for you. Perhaps you've gone through experiences that have tested your beliefs, or maybe you've entered a new season of life where your understanding of God has deepened in ways you didn't expect. But what if these changes are part of a greater journey? What if instead of being a source of confusion or frustration, they are actually guiding you to something deeper, something more meaningful, more authentic? What if the changes in your faith are allowing you to discover who you truly are in God's eyes, and helping you grow into the person you were always meant to be? Let's explore that together. Let's dive into how changes in faith can bring not only clarity and understanding, but also a deeper sense of connection to both God and yourself. If this message has been helpful to you, be sure to like and share this video so others can also experience comfort and encouragement. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more insightful spiritual lessons that can help you along your own journey of faith and personal growth. Faith is often thought of as a constant, unchanging belief system, something solid and immovable. We may envision our faith as a steady rock, something that remains fixed throughout our lives. But in reality, faith is not a static state. It's a journey. It's an evolving process that unfolds over time, shaped by our experiences, our growth, and our relationship with God. Just like any other area of our lives, our faith can shift, deepen, and mature. It isn't necessarily weakened by change. Instead, it develops and grows stronger, becoming more authentic and rooted as we face new challenges and experiences. As we go through different stages in life, our perspectives on faith may change. In childhood, our faith might be simple and largely shaped by what we've been taught by our families and communities. As we enter adolescence and adulthood, we begin to question, explore, and expand our understanding. The beliefs we once accepted without question may be tested, and new insights may arise. And as we encounter life's trials, whether they be loss, suffering, success, or joy, our faith adapts to these circumstances. But what does it really mean when we say our faith is changing? Does it imply that we no longer believe in the same way? Not necessarily. Instead, it means that our faith is becoming more nuanced, more profound, and more deeply intertwined with our experiences and understanding of God. Think about faith as a journey of discovery rather than a destination. Just as you grow as a person, so too does your faith. It evolves as we encounter new stages of life challenges and triumphs. We may experience moments of clarity where our beliefs are reinforced, and we may go through periods of doubt or questioning that force us to examine what we truly believe. These moments don't signal the end of our faith. They're an integral part of its deepening and maturation. At the core of this evolution is the realization that faith is dynamic, not static. We are constantly moving forward, learning and being shaped by our experiences. This transformation is necessary for a faith that is authentic, personal and resilient. In fact, a faith that doesn't change and adapt might not be able to withstand the trials and challenges of life. A changing faith reflects a maturing relationship with God, one that grows stronger through the testing of time and circumstances. So what exactly causes our faith to change? Often it is life itself, the challenges, losses, and major shifts that we experience. These factors shape the way we see God, ourselves, and the world around us. While the idea of faith changing might seem unsettling, it is actually a natural and necessary part of our spiritual growth. Here are some of the key factors that can cause shifts in our faith. 1. Life's challenges and hardships. One of the most common causes of a shift in faith is life's challenges. Difficulties such as illness, the death of a loved one, financial struggles, and emotional pain can shake our faith to its core. These events often make us question our beliefs, wonder why God allows suffering, and ask if He is truly present in our pain. For instance, in the Bible we read the story of Job, a man who experienced unimaginable suffering. He lost his wealth, his health, and his family. His faith was tested in ways that few of us could imagine. Throughout his trials, Job questioned God and wrestled with his faith. But in the end, his faith wasn't destroyed. Instead, it was refined. Job's understanding of God deepened as he came to realize that God's ways are higher than his own understanding. Job's faith was not weakened by his suffering, but was instead strengthened and made more resilient. Similarly, we too may face circumstances that shake us to the core. These challenges may cause us to re-examine our beliefs, question why things happen the way they do, and even doubt God's presence in our lives. But as we process these challenges, our faith has the potential to grow and evolve in ways that we might not expect. Difficult times provide us with opportunities to rely more deeply on God and trust in His plan even when we don't fully understand it. Through this process, our faith is refined and matured. 2. Loss and grief. Loss is another significant factor that can cause changes in our faith. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a dream, or a relationship, grief has a profound effect on our hearts and minds, often leading us to question God's purpose. When we face loss, our faith may feel like it's been ripped out from under us. It's in these moments of deep sorrow that we are forced to confront the painful realities of life, and our faith can be tested. However, grief also opens the door for new growth. As we grieve, we may come to understand that God is not distant from our suffering. He is with us in our pain, offering comfort, understanding, and hope. In fact, grief often deepens our relationship with God as we cry out for comfort and healing. The loss we experience can shape our faith in ways that draw us closer to God and help us understand His love and presence more fully. 3. Major life changes. Another factor that can cause a shift in faith is major life changes, such as moving to a new place, starting a new job, or getting married. Even positive changes can trigger a transformation in our faith. These changes often push us out of our comfort zones, requiring us to rely on God in new ways. For example, leaving home for college or embarking on a new career can make us question the foundation of our beliefs. Starting a family may lead us to think more deeply about our role as a parent and how we can instill faith in our children. New experiences often force us to redefine our priorities and discover new ways to live out our faith. Now that we have explored the factors that cause change in our faith, let's look at how this change manifests. What does a changing faith look like in practice? Here are 3 important ways in which our faith can mature and evolve. 1. Maturing in our understanding of God. One of the most profound ways in which faith changes is through a deeper understanding of God. As we go through different stages of life, our view of God becomes more nuanced. When we're young, we may see God as a loving protector, but as we grow, we begin to understand His complexity, His justice, His mercy, His holiness, and His grace. Through the challenges we face, we learn that God is not just a distant figure, but an active participant in our lives. He walks with us through the good and the bad, teaching us lessons along the way. As our faith matures, we come to realize that God's plan for us is much bigger than we can comprehend. His love for us is deeper than we could ever fully understand. Our faith is not only about receiving blessings, but also about embracing God's will in all circumstances. 2. Discovering and applying faith in daily life. Another way that faith evolves is through the application of faith in our daily lives. As we mature spiritually, our faith becomes less about just what we believe and more about how we live. We start to see God's presence in every area of life, work relationships, leisure, and service. We realize that our faith is not confined to church or religious rituals, but should be evident in how we treat others, how we make decisions, and how we respond to challenges. For example, as we grow in faith, we begin to apply biblical principles in real-world situations. Instead of just praying when things go wrong, we start to seek God's guidance in all our decisions, large and small. Our faith becomes a way of life, guiding our choices, actions, and attitudes. 3. Transforming our personal relationship with God. Finally, a changing faith transforms our personal relationship with God. As we grow in understanding and application of faith, we develop a more intimate connection with God. Our relationship with Him is no longer just about asking for things or following rules. It's about a deep personal connection, a relationship that grows with time and experience. In the Bible, we see many examples of individuals whose faith grew and evolved over time. For instance, David's relationship with God transformed from the young shepherd who trusted God to defeat Goliath to the man who later experienced deep struggles, sin and repentance, but still sought God with all his heart. His faith matured through trials and triumphs, deepening his connection to God. In conclusion, faith is not a one-time decision, but an ongoing journey of growth and transformation. As we encounter life's challenges, hardships, and triumphs, our faith matures, deepens, and strengthens. We come to understand God in richer, more profound ways, and our relationship with Him becomes more intimate and real. Faith is not about holding on to a static set of beliefs, but embracing the journey of growth and discovery that comes with following God. And in the process, our faith becomes stronger, more resilient, and more capable of withstanding whatever comes our way. As we discussed earlier, faith is not a static, unchanging part of our lives, it evolves. Our faith shapes our relationship with God, and as our faith changes, so too does our understanding of ourselves. Faith is not just about believing in God, it's about discovering and refining our own identity, purpose, and place in the world. When our faith changes, it has the power to bring enlightenment about who we are, why we are here, and what truly matters in our lives. When our faith changes, it often leads to a transformation in how we see ourselves. Enlightenment through faith opens our eyes to our own strengths, weaknesses, and deepest desires. It helps us recognize our purpose in life and see how we are connected to God in ways that we may have never understood before. The shift in our perspective through faith allows us to uncover hidden parts of ourselves, revealing who we are meant to be. For example, if you have ever gone through a challenging season in life where your faith was tested, you might have experienced a shift in how you view your own identity and purpose. Initially, you may have seen yourself only through the lens of your job, your relationships, or your achievements. But as your faith matured, you may have begun to understand that your true identity is not defined by these external factors. Instead, your identity is deeply rooted in your relationship with God. This realization brings freedom as we learn that our worth is not based on our accomplishments but on God's love and purpose for us. When our faith evolves, we are forced to look at ourselves with new eyes. What once may have been a shallow understanding of who we are becomes something deeper, something more profound. Changing faith offers us an opportunity to reevaluate our values, beliefs, and priorities. It asks us to examine what really matters in life, stripping away the things that are fleeting and revealing the eternal truths that anchor us. Faith is not just about believing in God, but also about understanding what we truly believe and how those beliefs shape our lives. As our faith changes, we begin to ask deeper questions. What do I truly believe about myself, about others, about the world around me? Faith challenges us to confront our own values, motivations, and sense of purpose. It helps us evaluate whether the direction we are headed is aligned with God's calling for our lives. Self-awareness comes from the process of questioning and reflection. When our faith evolves, it forces us to examine not only what we believe about God, but also what we believe about ourselves. Our beliefs shape how we view the world, and through changing faith, we begin to clarify and refine those beliefs. In moments of doubt or change, we're often confronted with our own assumptions and preconceived notions, forcing us to question the foundation of our identity. For instance, when faced with a difficult decision or a trial, we might ask ourselves, what values do I hold that should guide me through this challenge? When faith changes, it brings these values into clearer focus. We might realize that compassion, forgiveness, humility, and love are central to who we are and how we navigate life's trials. Faith encourages self-reflection and deepens our self-awareness, helping us live more authentically in line with what God has called us to be. This process of discovering self-awareness can lead to an improved sense of purpose. We begin to understand that our purpose is not just about achieving success in the eyes of the world, but about living in alignment with God's will. We begin to understand that our worth is not found in our accomplishments, but in our identity as beloved children of God and in our call to serve Him. One of the most significant outcomes of a changing faith is a deeper understanding of what is truly important in life. As we grow spiritually, we begin to see the world through a different lens, one that places eternal values above temporary gains. We may find that things that once seemed critical, such as material success, status, or wealth, become less important in comparison to love, kindness, and service to others. Changing faith helps us focus on the eternal, encouraging us to invest in relationships and kindness and living a life of integrity. When our faith changes, we start to reprioritize our lives, shifting away from things that are fleeting and placing greater emphasis on the things that matter most. We may realize that our identity is not tied to career success or how many followers we have on social media, but rather to how we reflect God's love in the world. Our life's purpose becomes less about self-promotion and more about serving others and reflecting God's glory. The changing nature of faith helps us break free from the distractions that often pull us away from what is truly important. It brings clarity to our goals and directs our energies toward things that honor God and align with His will for our lives. A powerful example of how a change in faith leads to enlightenment about oneself is found in the story of Saul's conversion to Paul in the Bible. Saul, originally a Pharisee, was a man who persecuted Christians and was determined to stamp out the growing movement of believers. Saul's faith was deeply rooted in tradition and the laws of Judaism, and he was willing to go to great lengths to defend his belief system. He saw himself as righteous and devoted to God, but his understanding of God and His will was limited by his rigid religious views. However, on the road to Damascus, Saul experienced a radical transformation when he encountered Jesus Christ. This moment was not only a change in his beliefs about God, but a complete reordering of his understanding of himself. Saul, who had persecuted believers, was struck blind, and in that moment he was forced to confront not just his actions, but the very foundation of his faith. Through this encounter, Saul was enlightened not just about God's true nature, but about his own role in God's greater plan. After his conversion, Saul's identity shifted dramatically. He was no longer a persecutor of Christians, but became Paul, one of the greatest advocates of the Christian faith. Paul's life was marked by humility, love, and an unwavering commitment to spreading the gospel. He went from being someone who saw the world through the lens of legalism and self-righteousness to someone who understood the depth of God's grace and mercy. This profound change in Paul's faith was not just about changing how he saw God, it was about changing how he saw himself and his purpose in life. Paul's conversion illustrates how faith can radically transform our understanding of who we are and what we are meant to do in this world. His purpose, once focused on defending the law, was now rooted in spreading the message of God's love and salvation. He was enlightened to see himself as a servant of God's will, and his life became a powerful testimony to the transformative power of faith. In his letters, Paul often speaks about the new identity he found in Christ. He says, "I no longer live, but Christ lives in me," Galatians 2:20. This statement reflects the depth of his transformation. His faith had changed so profoundly that he was no longer defined by his past, by his previous identity as Saul, but by his new identity in Christ. His faith had brought enlightenment about his true purpose and about how he was to live in the world. Paul's story shows us that faith change is not simply about intellectual understanding. It's about a personal reawakening, a moment of insight where we come to understand who we truly are and what our purpose is. Faith helps us uncover the parts of ourselves that may have been hidden beneath layers of self-doubt, pride, or fear. Just as Paul's transformation led him to become one of the most influential figures in Christianity, changing faith can lead us to a deeper and more authentic version of ourselves. In our own lives, faith change can act as a catalyst for personal growth, helping us move from a place of uncertainty to one of clarity. It brings us closer to understanding God's unique call for our lives, showing us how to use our gifts, talents, and experiences for His glory. As our faith deepens, we become more attuned to our true selves, realizing that we are fearfully and wonderfully made by a loving Creator. In conclusion, changing faith brings enlightenment about who we are, our purpose, and our place in God's plan. It's through the process of growth and transformation that we begin to see ourselves more clearly. We discover our true values, our God-given purpose, and how deeply we are connected to our Creator. Like Saul, our understanding of who we are and what we are meant to do can be radically changed through an encounter with God. And through the journey of faith, we grow into a deeper and more authentic version of ourselves. As your faith changes and grows, take the time to reflect on the new insights and understandings that emerge. Through this process, you'll find not just a clearer understanding of God, but a deeper sense of your own identity and purpose in life. Faith is not just an intellectual understanding or belief system, it's the bedrock of our relationship with God. Over time, as our faith changes, our relationship with God grows deeper, more intimate, and more enduring. Faith changes do not simply help us understand ourselves better, they help us build a closer relationship with God. As our faith matures and evolves, we come to see God in new ways, trust Him more fully, and experience His presence in our lives in ways we may never have imagined before. At the core of every genuine relationship is the willingness to grow and adapt. In the same way, our relationship with God requires growth. As we go through different seasons of life, whether we are experiencing joy, suffering, success, or disappointment, our faith and relationship with God are shaped by those experiences. Changing faith helps us grow closer to God because it encourages us to seek Him more earnestly, trust Him more completely, and surrender more of ourselves to His will. As our faith deepens, we no longer view God as distant or disconnected from our lives. We come to recognize that God is present in every moment, in our trials, in our joys, in our everyday lives. Faith changes help us shift from a transactional relationship with God, where we pray for things or ask for His help in times of trouble, to a transformational relationship where we seek God's presence and guidance in everything. Our faith becomes the lens through which we experience the world, and it brings us closer to the heart of God. At its core, faith is built on trust. As our faith changes, our trust in God grows stronger. When we face challenges, we often begin by questioning why certain things happen or why we must endure certain trials. Initially, our trust in God may be conditional. We trust him when things are going well and question him when things go wrong. But as our faith evolves, we learn to trust God in all circumstances, even when we don't fully understand what's happening around us. For example, when we go through difficult times, we might begin to see God as our ultimate refuge and strength. We learn to turn to him not just for solutions, but for comfort and peace in the midst of the storm. This transformation in our faith deepens our relationship with God as we stop viewing him merely as a problem solver and begin to see him as the constant source of our peace and hope. The story of Abraham and his journey of faith is a perfect illustration of this kind of trust. Abraham's faith in God grew stronger through years of waiting for God's promises to be fulfilled. Even when God asked him to sacrifice his son Isaac, Abraham's trust in God was unwavering because he knew that God had been faithful in the past and would continue to be faithful in the future. This trust deepened his relationship with God, and through his obedience, Abraham became the father of a great nation. As our faith changes, we learn to trust God not just for what he can give us, but for who he is, a loving Father who is with us every step of the way through both the mountaintop experiences and the valleys of life. As our faith changes, our approach to prayer can change as well. Prayer is the foundation of our communication with God. It is how we connect with him, seek his guidance, and express our deepest desires, fears, and gratitude. But as our faith deepens, our prayers often become more honest, more intimate, and more reflective of our true relationship with God. In the early stages of our faith, we may approach prayer with a sense of formality or ritual. We may say the right words, ask for blessings, or seek help in times of need. But as our faith matures, our prayers become less about what we can get from God, and more about seeking his presence and aligning our will with his. We begin to pray not just for what we want, but for the wisdom to discern God's will and the strength to follow it. As our relationship with God grows, we start to feel more comfortable with God in our prayers. We open our hearts and minds to him in a way that reflects our trust in his love and guidance. We are no longer afraid to express our doubts, our fears, or our confusion. Instead of seeing God as distant or unreachable, we come to recognize him as a close, loving Father who invites us to bring everything to him. Prayer becomes less about asking for things and more about connecting with God on a deep personal level. Over time, we may also experience the evolution of our prayer life, praying not just in times of need, but throughout our day. We begin to see prayer as a continuous conversation with God, one that is not confined to a specific time or place. We seek his guidance in every decision, big or small, and feel his presence in the everyday moments of life. For example, as we go through the busyness of our day, we may find ourselves praying silently in moments of quiet, or simply calling out to God for strength when we feel overwhelmed. This evolution in our prayer life reflects the deepening of our relationship with God, where we see him not just as a deity we turn to in crisis, but as an ongoing presence in our lives. A powerful example of how faith changes and leads to a deeper relationship with God can be seen in the story of Moses and his encounter with God in the burning bush. In the beginning, Moses did not understand the full greatness and presence of God. When God first called him from the burning bush, Exodus 3, Moses was hesitant and unsure. He'd grown up in Egypt, but he was not confident in his ability to lead God's people out of slavery. Moses initially doubted himself and struggled to understand why God had chosen him. But through this encounter, Moses' faith was deeply transformed. The conversation with God wasn't just about a divine calling. It was about a deepening relationship with God where Moses came to understand who God truly was. God revealed himself to Moses as the great I Am, a name that signified God's eternal presence, power, and authority. This moment marked the beginning of Moses' journey into a deeper understanding of God's purpose for his life. Over time, Moses' relationship with God grew stronger as he witnessed God's mighty acts from the plagues in Egypt to the parting of the Red Sea. Moses' faith was no longer based on just an intellectual understanding of God's power. It was based on his personal experience with God. His prayers became more confident and his obedience to God's call became more resolute. As Moses grew in his relationship with God, he began to see that his purpose was not just about leading the Israelites out of Egypt, but about following God's will no matter how difficult or impossible it seemed. In Exodus 33:11, it is said that the Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. This reflects the deep intimacy Moses experienced with God, a relationship that was not only about commands and obedience, but about friendship, trust, and love. Moses' story illustrates how faith changes deepen our understanding of God's presence in our lives. Initially, Moses viewed God as distant a being, with whom he had little personal connection. But through his journey of faith, Moses' relationship with God evolved, and he came to realize that God was not just a distant deity, but an active, present force in his life. Faith changes bring enlightenment about God's ongoing presence, not just in moments of grandeur like the burning bush, but in everyday situations. As we grow in faith, we begin to recognize that God is with us in every moment, whether we are in times of triumph or facing difficult decisions. Our relationship with God becomes not just something we experience in isolated spiritual moments, but an ongoing dialogue that shapes how we live, think, and act. In conclusion, faith changes are an essential part of growing closer to God. As our faith evolves, our relationship with God becomes deeper and more intimate. Through changing faith, we learn to trust God more fully, pray more honestly, and see His presence in our daily lives. These changes help us grow in understanding of who God is, who we are, and what our purpose in life is. Just as Moses' relationship with God deepened through his experiences, so too can our relationship with God grow stronger as we experience the changes in our faith. Faith changes aren't something to fear, they are opportunities for us to draw closer to God, seek His guidance more earnestly, and experience His love and presence in profound ways. As we've seen, changing faith is not something to fear, but rather a vital part of our journey toward growing in our relationship with God. It's natural for our faith to evolve as we encounter new experiences and challenges. When our faith changes, we don't just gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, but we also gain a more profound understanding of God. These changes bring true enlightenment to our lives, helping us align more closely with His will and purpose. Take a moment to reflect on your own faith journey. Have you experienced any changes in your faith that brought enlightenment about yourself and about God? Perhaps there have been seasons in your life when your faith was tested, or when you found yourself asking new questions about your beliefs. These changes may be an opportunity for you to better understand your calling to grow in your relationship with God and to step into a more meaningful and purposeful journey. Remember that transformation in faith often leads to deeper wisdom and a stronger connection with God. If you're feeling that your faith is changing, don't worry. Every change in your faith brings an opportunity for you to grow deeper in your relationship with God and with yourself. Stay firm in your faith and continue your journey of discovery and enlightenment. These moments of change, though challenging, are a natural part of the spiritual growth process. Trust that each step you take, even if it feels uncertain, is guiding you toward a deeper understanding of God's will and your place in it. If this message has been helpful to you, be sure to like and share this video so others can also experience comfort and encouragement on their own faith journeys. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more insightful spiritual lessons that can guide you as you continue growing in faith and understanding. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more wisdom with you in the next video. May God bless you and guide you on your journey.